Jin Moyu was the last surviving princess of the Qing Dynasty. She was a cousin of Puyi, the last emperor of China. Her older sister was the notorious Yoshiko Kawashima. Because of her illustrious relatives, it is no wonder why the last princess of the Qing Dynasty would endure many hardships. She went from an imperial princess to a prisoner. However, Princess Jin Moyu was able to persevere and fulfill her ambitions. Princess Jin Moyu was born on the 14th of September 1918 in Lushuan, China. Her original name was Azanjuro Xianqi. She was the youngest of Prince Su's 38 children and was his 17th daughter. Her mother was Prince Su's fourth concubine named Lady Jangia. She was a cousin of Puyi, the deposed emperor of China. Even though the Qing dynasty was deposed in 1912, the royal family were still allowed to retain their imperial titles and royal privileges. When Princess Xianqi was 4 years old, both of her parents died. After Prince Su's death, most of his children left to study abroad. However, 3 of Princess Xianqi's half-sisters gave up studying abroad to raise her. As a child, she loved watching Charlie Chaplin movies. She also learned etiquette befitting a princess of the Qing dynasty. Later, she enrolled in a primary school in Lushuan and learned Japanese. In 1934, she continued her studies abroad in Japan. In 1937, the 19-year-old Princess Xianqi left Japan and returned to Lushuan. She changed her name to Jin Moyu and dreamed of becoming an actress or a journalist. Instead, she secretly worked as a consultant at a Japanese company and had a steady salary. Princess Jin also became a model at a photo studio. The photo showed Princess Jin Moyu with short hair and wearing a flower cheongsam. Her photo was displayed in the window of the photo studio. One of Princess Jin's brothers was passing by when he noticed his sister's photo. He was immediately ashamed and angered by the photo because a princess was not supposed to show her face to the public. He bought the photo and scolded her. Princess Jin's siblings also pressured her to fulfill her duty as a Qing dynasty princess by marrying a Mongolian prince. However, Princess Jin refused to let her family use her as a pawn and wanted to marry for love. To break free from her family's expectations, she left Lushuan and moved to her father's princely mansion in Beijing. On the 18th of August, 1945, the puppet state of Manchukuo collapsed. Many of her siblings fled to China. However, Princess Jin Moyu decided to stay in China and brace for the storms that awaited her. Prince Su's mansion was often looted by the Chinese army, and her brothers had no choice but to sell it. She sold all her possessions and rented a room in a courtyard house. She made a living by knitting sweaters and selling them on the street. In 1952, Princess Jin used all her savings to open a restaurant that specialized in Sichuan cuisine. The restaurant became very popular. Many famous Chinese celebrities of the day were her regular customers. In 1954, Princess Jin Moyu was introduced to a painter named Ma Wanli. Ma Wanli had married twice before and had a daughter. However, Princess Jin Moyu fell in love with him and married him that same year. Their marriage was very happy. Ma Wanli made a special seal for her. If she happened to like one of his paintings, then he would stamp her seal on it. Princess Jin later worked as a Japanese translator for a translation agency. In February 1958, Jin was arrested by the Chinese government because she was a princess of the Qing dynasty. She was sentenced to 15 years in prison. In order to not implicate her husband, she asked Ma Wanli for a divorce. Ma Wanli initially refused. He told her he would wait for her until she finished her sentence. However, his family pressured him to divorce her. Even though Ma Wanli had divorced her, he still kept the photos of Princess Jin under his pillow until his death in 1979. As a result, Ma Wanli continued to love her for the rest of his life. In 1973, Princess Jin was finally released from prison and worked at a small farm in Tianjin. She met her fellow farm worker named Shi Yuwei, and they fell in love. The couple married that same year. The marriage was happy, but she regretted that she had no children of her own. Due to health issues, Princess Jin also struggled to keep a job. In 1979, she wrote a letter to Deng Xiaojing to ask him for a job. Because she was a princess of the Qing Dynasty, he quickly found a job for her as a librarian in Beijing. In 1996, Princess Jin Moyu opened a Japanese language school in Langfang. She continued to live the rest of her years peacefully with her husband in Langfang and supervised her school. On the 26th of May, 2014, she died of a heart attack in a Beijing hospital. She was 95 years old. The last princess of the Qing dynasty went through many difficulties. However, she persevered and was finally able to open her own Japanese language school. Unlike her older sister, Yoshiko, Princess Jin Moyu stayed in China and became an ordinary Chinese citizen. Even though Yoshiko was more famous and attracted notoriety, Princess Jin Moyu led a simpler life and had a better ending. Thus, she finally found peace and happiness later in life. The death of Princess Jin Moyu marked the last living symbol of the Qing dynasty.